Journey's end for thousands of Syrian rebels evacuated from Douma. As far as the Assad government is concerned, this is mission accomplished. A key enclave near Damascus has been crushed. But the methods used have energized foreign powers, notably France.
The French drew their own red line last year. Macron was very clear about the fact that France would, even on its own, be ready to contemplate military action if there were demonstrated use of chemical weapons in Syria. So there's no particular surprise there, and Macron knows what happens to presidents who don't abide by their red line.
Politically, Britain's position is more ambiguous. Downing Street's readout of calls with Presidents Trump and Macron today was carefully caveated, referring to reports of chemical weapons use which, if confirmed, would be further evidence of Assad's cruelty.
We are working urgently with our allies and partners to assess what has happened on the ground. If this is the responsibility of Assad's regime in Syria, then it's yet another example of the brutality and brazen disregard for their people that they show.
Adding to caution is the complex mixture of alliances in Syria. Behind Assad's government and its recent victories lie Russia and Iran. And you could add Hezbollah too, not a state but a Lebanese Shiite militia that played a key role in Syria and has thousands of missiles pointed at Israel. Ranged against them are Saudi Arabia and Israel itself, of course. Those two countries would like the US to be taking a stronger line against Iran in Syria, but the White House may not be ready to do that yet, and certainly doesn't want to confront the Russians militarily.
Certainly the Iranians have spent a lot of money. They've committed a fair amount of manpower, although a lot of this are sort of Shia militias and a certain number of Afghans that are moving in either from Iraq, obviously, and Afghanistan. But for them, it's a prestige thing. If they fail in Syria, it will redound very badly on the Revolutionary Guard, who basically dragged the country into this mess.
Sensing a window of diplomatic opportunity, Syria and Russia are casting doubt over the rebel claims. This footage shows troops apparently checking a hospital in Douma for contamination.
In the course of visiting this medical facility, it was established that there were no patients with symptoms of poisoning by toxic compounds of the sarin and chlorine type. None have come to the hospital.
Tonight, in the Security Council, its permanent members clashed over the scope of a fact-finding mission being organised by the chemical weapons watchdog, the OPCW. Russia ended up vetoing a US proposal. For their part, Western powers then blocked a rival proposition from Russia for the mission. But even if terms are agreed, a coalition of the willing that could include the US, France and Saudi Arabia still appears ready to strike.
I suspect that this one has a momentum pretty much of its own. The Russians prevented OPCW from pursuing investigative activity in Syria just a few months ago. One suspects in order to enable the Syrians to be able to conduct this sort of chemical attack without being caught visibly in the act.
As so many times during the long Syrian war, the body designed to prevent global conflict has so far failed to reach a consensus. And when that happens, military options become far more likely.
That was Mark Urban, and he's here right now. What is your sense, Mark, of military readiness? Do you think an attack is imminent?
I don't. It could be done. There's an American warship, the USS Cook, and a French one, the Aquitaine, both equipped with cruise missiles that are within range of Syria. Add in a few B-2 bombers, you could do something in the next 24 hours if you really wanted to. But that would be on the scale of what happened a year ago with the attack on that Syrian airbase after a previous alleged chemical weapons attack. And everything suggests that what they would like to do, the Pentagon and the French, is something bigger. Now, they're not well placed for it. There's no US carrier in the Gulf, and there's no US carrier at the right end of the Mediterranean either. There are 2 US aircraft carriers steaming towards there. The French don't have a carrier at the moment, so it would take a few days, I think, to prepare something that would be bigger and more sustained than what we saw last year.
And it's hard to know at this point what position Britain would take, but in terms of any military contribution, what do you see that being? Well,
you're exactly right. The politics in Britain are clearly different. We can clearly sense the reluctance, but if Theresa May decided to go for it, possibly using royal prerogative, not going to the Commons for a vote, the best option would seem to be Tornado aircraft from Cyprus using a cruise missile called a Storm Shadow. It's conceivable there could also be cruise missiles from a submarine, but although their movements are surrounded by mystery, we don't think there's one in a position to do that at the moment.